Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our webinar series, The Power of Sourcing. What is already our ninth episode, and we're getting close to the end. But I'm so happy that you're still with us or dialing in for the first time. It doesn't really matter. My name is Adrian Kolf, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Matcher, co-founder of Pantala, investor, public speaker, but most importantly, I will be your host today. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat. Please be aware there's a slight delay on our end, so we typically collect the questions at the end of the presentations, but please ask as many questions as you have. Now, before I announce our next speaker, let me first tell you a little bit more about what we do with Matcher. Because with Matcher, we provide embedded sourcing and recruitment teams to fast-growing companies. We work for startups, scale-ups, and large corporates, depending on their needs and their specialties. We can already work on a monthly rolling contract, and we work fully embedded into your own recruitment teams. Whether that's with a startup, you don't have any recruitment capabilities, and we can just add in all of our recruitment knowledge, or whether you're a large corporate like Booking.com or TikTok, and you just need help on specialized sourcing or recruitment support. If you're hiring or if you know someone that's hiring, please let us know because we would love to get in touch with you. Now, our next speaker I'm really excited about because we're going off the beaten path. I would love to welcome on stage Yelena.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I am excellent. How are you?
I'm great. And the good thing is, so Brian Fink, one of our guests 4 or 5 episodes ago, when we asked who should we get on the show, he mentioned one name. And that was you. And now here we are. 5 weeks later, I'm so happy that you were immediately available and excited to do this. And that we get a chance to learn from you.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Can you, before we get going, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? Because that's not a virtual background.
Nope, this is my real life. Give you a little tour here. I've made all the art on the walls and I donate it to charities. I've actually been able to donate over $600 to different charities just based on selling the art that I have. So it's been really great, and it's just something that I love to do.
Jenna, can we like put like a link to your charity? Can we put that in the show notes?
Absolutely, that would be amazing.
Awesome, I love it. All right, Jenna, the floor is yours. Again, audience, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat, and then we get going.
Cool, let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I saw some people log in from all over the place, which is really cool. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about sourcing on new social media platforms. I'm Jenna Aronow, and I am a founder of my own company, a head of talent, and also a technical sourcer. I've been working in this field for the last 10 years, and sourcing is really my absolute passion. If I can do one thing in the day that makes me happy and makes me feel like I got something done that day, it's definitely sourcing. I love the hunt. I love finding the right people and getting them into the right jobs. I've worked with all sorts of really cool companies like Netflix, Cisco Meraki, and Patreon. I've also really helped them to build diverse and inclusive pipelines and diverse and inclusive teams based on really getting the right people in and making sure that we're hiring people that not only fit the company culture and are going to be happy with us, but that really have the skills and the technical know-how that we need as well. So we've really had the opportunity to get to work some cool places. And one of the things that I enjoy quite a bit is working on very difficult to hire technical roles. So it's, you've got regular software engineers and things like that, but then you've got those very specific, like we need somebody that knows Rust and Golang and is able to do this piece and that piece and a little bit of everything. So We're going to talk a little bit today about an example role of a Rust engineer that's going to help us to spend some time working through social media and how you can find great people that way. So recruiting on social media, we know it, we love it. 41% of job seekers say that they use social networks to find their jobs. That was a 2021 statistic, so I would guess now with the current market and everything, even more people are looking there. I know I see on LinkedIn every day new people that are open to work. I see lots on Twitter about people that are open to work, and definitely lots of opportunities to find the right folks that you're looking for. So we love recruiting on social media. It's great to find people who don't necessarily have LinkedIn profiles, or if you're a smaller shop and you can't afford a LinkedIn recruiter seat, it gives you the opportunity to get in touch with some of those people, make sure that you're making those connections. It really increases the visibility of your jobs as well. If you have them just on LinkedIn, you're only going to catch the people that are already looking for a job. But one of the great things about sourcing is that you can find people who are not yet on the job hunt, and you can kind of get to them before everybody else. So you really want to find those places that people hang out, that they spend their time, and find them and meet them where they are. It also reduces your cost to hire. A lot of social media recruiting is free or very low cost. There are options to promote posts and things like that, but you can do all of it with very little cost except time and a little bit of know-how. One of the best things about social media recruiting is that it is a two-way conversation. So not only do you get to post things out to people, post your jobs, share tips, share your company culture, really kind of give people a feel of what it would be like to work at the company, you also have the ability to answer questions, to get in touch with people. If people are posting that they're looking for a job, you can reply to them right on there. And then not only are they going to see it, but all of their friends and all of their followers who are probably also looking for work or might be in the future will also see that information. And if you can be helpful and kind of contribute to the conversation and push things forward, you'll get a lot of really great feedback and a lot of really great response rates. And like I mentioned earlier, it's really great for finding people for those really hyper-specific roles. So if you are looking for an engineer that does just this little part of the process, you can usually find those people because they're the ones that are excited about what they're doing. They're talking about what they're doing on social media. They're posting articles and blogs and really just being a big part of the conversation. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, is being a part of the conversation and the community and making sure that you are really contributing in kind of a holistic way, as opposed to just blasting out job posts and going for it that way. Now, like everything in the world, it does have some pros, but it also has some cons. One is the time investment. You can't just start a Twitter account, log in for the first time, post a bunch of jobs and hope that people get back to you. It doesn't really work like that. You need to be a part of the community. So spending some time gaining followers, following interesting people, posting about different information and things like we'll talk about today. There is a little bit of a time investment involved, but I found in my career that it is very helpful long-term, and that it is a really good use of time. And like I mentioned, especially if you're at a smaller company or a company that's got a really tight recruiting budget, it's a good way to be able to get in touch with folks without necessarily having to spend a lot of money to use some of the more expensive tools. It does require more strategy. You can't just go, okay, cool, I'm in, this is what I'm doing, end of story. You really have to take the time to just learn a little bit about the platform. What are the norms? What do people do there? And figure out how you're going to fit in and find your niche within the platform. And every platform is a little bit different. My 16-year-old cousin told me that no one's on Facebook anymore, but I still am. So there's that. Twitter is going through its own thing right now. So you really just kind of figure out what it is that you want to be a part of and then dive in and get to be a part of that group. And the algorithms on a lot of these sites can be tougher for smaller accounts. So as you're probably aware, a lot of social media does not actually show everything in a chronological order. It shows the posts to people that it thinks that they want to see and that they'll interact with. So if you are smaller, they have less data points about you to be able to say, this is the information that people are interested in. So your posts can kind of get buried a little bit. which is something that we'll talk about today. Probably the biggest issue with things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is that they really are oversaturated. We've got a lot of recruiters on there. There's some recruiters on there doing it great and people love them. There's some recruiters on there that are driving people crazy because they're doing it in just not the way that the culture and community of that social media works. So one of the things that we are going to talk a little bit about is a new social media platform called Mastodon. And it is basically a microblogging platform. Think very similar to Twitter, but it's kind of a new and opening space. It's going to have a lot of opportunities to set up how recruiters interact on there and to really be one of the first into the market and have that opportunity to work with it from the ground up. It started in 2016, but it grew pretty big in 2022 when Elon Musk took over Twitter. They have what we call the Twitter migration, where a bunch of people left that site and came on over to here. It's currently over 10 million users. I had to update this stat twice while I was making these slides. It was 6 million like 2.5 weeks ago, and now it's over 10. So more and more people are joining every day. And one of the things that sort of makes it exciting and why I wanted to talk about it today is that there's a really high concentration of tech folks, people that are really into different parts of software engineering, different parts of hardware engineering, whatever you're looking for, this is where those people are hanging out. And something that's really cool that I was surprised to see when I jumped in was that they already have a job search community. There are tons of people on there posting, hey, my company has this job. Give me any questions that you have about what it's like to work there. There's people posting, give me a job. This is my resume. All of that is kind of going on in these great circular conversations and really giving people the opportunity to jump in and represent your brand and your company as part of that conversation that's happening. And bonus, it's 100% free. There's no ads, there's no sponsored posts, there's no algorithm. If you post something, it goes into the timeline and it goes right up to the top of it, and everybody who is following you or who is following that timeline will see that information come through. So it's a little bit easier to really gain traction as a smaller account and when you're first getting started and have that opportunity to reach a lot of different people. Like I mentioned, tech seems to love Mastodon. They love the community aspect of it. It's an open source piece of code. It was actually started by someone in Germany and they shared all of the information. And then people have opened all kinds of other communities and instances of it based on what they want to do with it. But the code is free. It's constantly being updated. It's constantly being improved. And there's a lot of opportunity to see the kind of people who are excited to not only code for their day job, but that come home at night and they're so excited that it's what they still want to do with their time. It's ad-free, which is great. If you have been on social media lately, I'm sure you have seen quite a few ads going through. If you accidentally click on one, then for the next 10 years, you will see a bunch of ads that are exactly like that one. Nothing like that going on here. And that's another one of the reasons that tech likes to hang out there. Like I mentioned, there's no algorithm. It shows all of the posts. You get to go right to the top of the list and then go down as new things are posted. And we'll talk about hashtags and some ways that you're able to really improve your visibility and your rankings. There's also an emphasis on security and moderation. If somebody is misbehaving, they're going to get booted. There's a lot of opportunity to feel very safe in this place. People feel like they can really bring their true selves. They can ask questions. If they're on the job hunt, they can be open and honest about their job hunt and the frustrations and the trials that come with that. And they really have the opportunity to kind of show a little bit more of themselves, which is great when you're recruiting because then you have more information that you can customize your outreach and get those responses from. It's also decentralized, which is something that we'll talk a little bit about. It's this really cool, interesting whole tech thing, but we don't have to get into it today. But basically what it means is that there isn't one central server that's owned by a company. It's little individual servers that are run by individual people or small organizations. so that there is the ability to switch between them. If the instance that you're on closes down, or if you find that it's not the community that you're looking for, you're going to be able to just take all of your followers, all of your information, all of your posts, move to another one. So there's a little bit more guarantee that you're going to be able to do it long term than, for example, when we had Vine and then Vine shut down. That's not going to happen with this. And there's really strong community vibes. If you can jump in and be a part of things, if you can really help people to go through their job searches, to recognize those frustrations, to be a part of the larger conversation, you're going to get really good results. And it's a lot of fun too. One of the things that I've been doing is helping people with their resumes, or just going on, there's a hashtag advice and answering people's questions. And it's kind of fun to get to take your recruiter knowledge and like put it out there for good. So that's nice too. All right, as promised, here's just like a 30-second blip about decentralization, and then we'll move on to the recruiting part, which is what I know y'all are here for. Like I said, it's not owned by a company. Unique instances of the same code. You can think of it like your instance or your community is like a neighborhood. So there's, norms, there's people that are going to be most active there, and there's a lot of opportunity to really be a part of what's going on. Bigger instances or bigger neighborhoods are obviously better for recruiters. There is the opportunity to see a timeline of everything that's being posted in your neighborhood or in your instance. And so being able to be a part of a little bit larger community means that your information gets out to more people. So let's talk a little bit. Victoria, we will absolutely go through seeing it in action, and we're going to go break it down a little bit and see how you can do some searches and things like that. So just to go into your terminology, if you're familiar with Twitter, we'll throw these up real quick. A tweet is called a toot. There's this really great story where someone said that they would support the platform forever if they named it a toot instead of a tweet. So that's what they did, and we have it all the way through to today. Follows are follows, retweets are boosts, replies are replies, likes are favorites, and of course you can still mention people on there as well. Okay, cool. So that was all very interesting and neat. Cool to learn about something new, but how do you find candidates? And that's why we're all here today, is how do you find those people that are not on LinkedIn, that aren't posting open to work, that aren't putting their resumes out there? How do you find people that are exactly what you need, but maybe aren't even looking for a job yet? So you really want to focus on finding the right candidates. And there's a bunch of ways that you can do that. And we'll break each one of these down as we go. So you've got your search, of course. You've got hashtags, the different communities that you can be a part of. You can follow people and have people follow you, and your information will go out to them, just like on any social media platform. Boosting, or kind of like retweeting, is a great way to go. I like to retweet anyone who is going through a different job search, or if people have information about what they're looking for, those can be really great. If there are companies that you love, or your company, and they have an instance, you can also go ahead and post that information and retweet and get all of that over to them. Job posts are very welcome. And then there's also Follow Friday, which is something that you're probably pretty familiar with if you've been around social media for a while. But people will say, like, here's my top 10 software engineers I know that are currently looking for jobs. That's one that came up this last Friday. And it was really cool because then I found 10 people who I knew were looking, who I knew had already an endorsement, and who were people that I wanted to get in touch with for the roles that I had open. Okay, so before we get into this, I did copy and paste it over to here just in case something was down or any of that, because I'm a little bit paranoid when I'm presenting. But let's take a look at Mastodon proper. Looks just like this. So you can see there's like a whole timeline going through. You can also see search up here where you're able to find all of that information. You can do posts, and then you have a couple of feeds here. You have your local feed, which is all of the people that are on your instance. You have a federated feed, which is all of the people that are on Mastodon total. And then you can see the people who have replied directly to you. So that is a little bit about that. Now we'll go through and really kind of break it down. So like I said, one of the searches that I've had really good luck with on here is for Rust, which is a programming language that is becoming more and more popular, but there's not a ton of people out there who use it when compared to like Python or JavaScript. And a lot of these people are very security and privacy focused folks. And so sometimes they're a little bit harder to find, but if you get into the communities where they are, they're very happy to hear about the jobs that you have, especially if they get to work in this programming language that they love. So one of the top things that you can do is you can look for profiles that focus on a specific tech or topic. So I just typed Rust into the search bar, and here's a bunch of the profiles that came up. The first one is tips. Rust trending is all about news that's happening in the Rust community. There's a programming one that talks about the new updates to the Rust programming language. There's a lot of open source that goes on in that community as well. So as new features are added or as new libraries are added, people post that information there. It also gives you something to talk about with folks. Hey, I saw that this, came out the other day. That would be really similar to what we're looking to do. Would love to have you do it here. There's a one for game development and then just a daily. This will also give you a lot of good topics to boost. When you first get started, you might not feel like you have a lot of content to share, but being able to kind of boost those other topics or other conversations that people are having not only gets you some good karma on the internet because you're able to kind of give like a little applause or a little heads up to the people that posted the original post, but at the same time, you're able to create more content for your site so that people are interested in following you and seeing what you're all about. You also want to check out the followers for each of these. So who are the people who are following the Rust programming bio? So those are going to be the people that are already, they're interested in this. And not only are they interested in it for work, they're interested in it in their free time. That's where they're hanging out. Those are the kind of things that they're talking about. I would also recommend that you find the top contributors or the admins for each of these groups. Who are the people who are doing the posting and who are the people who are responding, who are answering questions when people have them. If one of these is, boosting a comment about a question about Rust, who are the people that respond to that information? That can be a really great way to dig in and see who's available. And see who are the people, like I mentioned, that are not only like doing this for their day job, but they're really passionate about it, because those are the folks that you love to have on your team. The next thing that you can search is hashtags. I just put hashtag Rust and pulled these up, and these are all people that I would love to talk to. The first one, built a whole startup in Rust and would do it again. So if you were going to reach out to that person, it would be really easy to find the startup that they did last time, Cloak Software, and say, hey, I saw that you have gone from 0 to 500,000 users over X amount of time. That's our next goal at the organization. We would love for you to come and do it here. Would you be interested in jumping into our interview process? The next one over talks about just the Rust language, just information, things like that. There's also something that we'll talk about a little bit called your introduction post. And a lot of folks will use that as their opportunity to say, I'm looking for work. Here's some of the things that I spend my time on. Here's what I tend to do, and really kind of get a good feel for that person. Think of it like your LinkedIn summary, but a little bit more in depth and definitely more up to date. You'll see sometimes people will put like updated in 2018, and you're like, okay, cool. Well, that's been a while. So being able to really have that up-to-date information about people and what they're looking to do right now. And I'm a huge fan of personalizing my outreach. So being able to take all of the information that I find in here, maybe somebody posts, Rust hacker, Unix lover, those kinds of things. They even say that they like yoga. Maybe I can, find a GIF of a llama doing yoga and send it over. Anything to really stand out and be a little bit different than other people that are getting in touch with them on other social media platforms. The other is a new blog that is about Rust. So I might dig in there as well. Like I mentioned, boosts are like retweets. They push posts for additional visibility. People will probably boost you as well, especially if you are going to be posting about jobs, or if you're posting things about what your team is doing to use a language that people are interested in. It gives you a lot more content as well, so that you're not constantly trying to come up with stuff to say, but it doesn't look like your profile is inactive. And it really builds the community. People appreciate it. It's that little hit of dopamine where you're like, hey, somebody liked what I said so much, they reposted it to their profile. It's a great opportunity to start to get to know people as well. There are people that I started following, I boosted a couple of their posts, and then they say, hey, I saw you're a recruiter. I'm actually looking for this or that, or I know this person that's looking for a job. Like I said, if you can be a part of the community and kind of a part of the landscape, people will come to you and really have those opportunities to have those great conversations and to get people really invested in your process before they even start interviewing. Following is exactly what you think it is. You can follow different hashtags. I have a whole list that I'll share with you of hashtags that I like to follow. People like to talk a lot about LinkedIn on Mastodon. You can follow programming languages that you like. There's hashtags like for hire or job search. A lot of people will hashtag resume, and they'll just post all of their information up there. Again, because it's like a small community and it's a little bit smaller group, people feel really comfortable sharing more of their personal information. And they might actually just post their full resume, where they might not do that on like a Twitter or something like that, where they're going to get a lot of spam. I like to follow a lot of job seekers just as they're going through their process. If I find anybody that says, hey, I'm looking for work and this is what's been the most frustrating part of my process. We get a lot of, I interviewed with this company and I haven't heard back for 3 weeks. Well, one of the companies that I'm working with, one of their big kind of promotions that they push is that they're able to get through the entire interview process in 2 weeks. And it actually happens. That's a whole other story. But it does happen. And so if you have somebody that's saying, I've reached out, I haven't heard back from my recruiter, I'm just feeling like they don't even care about my process, you can jump in and say, hey, we always get people through our process in 2 weeks. We would love to have you be a part of what we're going through. Would you like to jump in? And you can grab those people even if they're already in another interview process. Thought leaders in the space are really great people to follow. There's a lot of opportunity to dig in and see the people who others follow and the people who are talking about this. And that's going to give you a lot of things to talk about with the folks that you're messaging out to as well. I am all about like hyper customization in my reach out, and learning as much as I can about the languages or the products or whatever it is that I'm recruiting for. And if you think tech is really neat and you think some of the things that you get to recruit on are cool, but you want to learn a little more about them, thought leaders are a great way to go. You can also post questions. Okay, I see that Rust is used for this, but what about using it in this way? And people will respond to you and start to have those conversations. Also follow other recruiters and folks in talent. There's not a ton of us over there yet, but that's kind of a benefit for you because you'll be one of the first ones into the space and really have that opportunity to build a recruiting community as well. If you're on Twitter, #recruiter Twitter is really great. And we're hoping to kind of build that same community over on Mastodon. All right, as promised, hashtags are a great way to index your posts. If somebody searches for a hashtag like for hire, that even if it's not all the way up at the top anymore, they'll see all of the posts that hashtag that specific wording. So if people are looking for jobs, you'll put like now hiring, and people will just scroll through and look at all of the job posts that are available to them. It's a great way to not only get a return on your investment for the original post, but to get people that continue to kind of have that conversation with you as it's going through. Again, remember, it's a chronological timeline. So you start at the top. As more things get posted, you work your way down. But then if somebody is searching for get hired, you'll be back up at the top of that post as well. Cool. As promised, here's a list of hashtags. We'll go through them real quick. Job search is everything from I'm looking for a job to I need help understanding how to interview, or I don't know what to do in my job search. And it's really your opportunity to come alongside as a talent partner and say, hey, here are the things that I can help you with. I had someone the other day use hashtag job search and ask about, I've been in the InfoSec field for 20 years. Is it okay if my resume is more than one page? People have a lot of questions as AI is becoming a bigger part of the recruiting process and we're talking about it more. People want to know how they can kind of beat the algorithm of the different ATS systems. They want to make sure that they're able to get their resume seen by a human. And so job search is a great way to be a part of that conversation. Like I mentioned, resume, people will just post their resumes onto the site. Easy enough way to find it. Think of it like an Indeed resume hunt, but a little bit easier and all in one place. Hiring is great for any jobs that you're posting. Make sure you use the hiring or now hiring tag. People talk a lot about LinkedIn. This is a great way also to get a pulse of what people like and what they don't like about other social media platforms and how you can use that to inform the way that you interact, not only on Mastodon, but on those other platforms as well. People are pretty brutally honest sometimes about what they like and they don't like about the system. So it's a good way to really get in there and kind of get that information. And then, so going back to decentralization for a second, the larger universe that Mastodon lives in is called the Fediverse. I know, I told this to my husband, he laughed at me. But it's called the Fediverse. It's the sort of larger atmosphere that this participates in. And so you'll see hashtags like Fedi hired or get Fedi hired because of that. Those are going to be where that community started. Those hashtags are reserved specifically for people who are looking for jobs. And people will literally post 2 paragraphs of like, I'm looking for a company that has great work-life balance, that is working in Rust, that is being a part of the space in this or that space. I'm not interested in fintech. I'm interested in social good, all of those things. And you're essentially getting almost like a full recruiter interview out of that paragraph, so that when you go to talk to those people, you can answer a lot of their questions before you even get on the call. You don't have to get them to commit to a half an hour intake call to be able to say, hey, you know, we're working in the social good space, or we love using this programming language. There's a lot of really great ways that you can interact with people and get those first calls set up. Now, one of the things that you're going to spend a lot of time doing is posting, right? So you're going to be posting your job openings. That's perfectly okay. I know some social media is not a huge fan of just like, obviously don't spam job postings, but post about your openings, use appropriate hashtags, and you'll get a ton of people that will see, and they may even ask you questions. Hey, can this job be remote? Where is this job located? How big is the team that I would work with? What's the makeup of that team? People will respond with all of these kind of things, and you can have those conversations. And then not only are you answering that question for that person, you're seeing that information kind of spread out to everyone else. And it's just like companies that interact really heavily on social media kind of get those positive vibes. If you've ever had like a problem with DoorDash or with Lyft and you tweet them and they tweet you back and you're like, cool, there's an actual person who's answering me. That can be a good way to start those kinds of conversations. You also want to share company culture and news. Think about if you have a meetup, if you have, you know, just everybody at lunch. It's a great way to demonstrate diversity and inclusion within your organization. If you have folks that you want to feature, maybe someone contributed to an open source community or a project, or someone just had a great, you know, anniversary at work or something, and you want to be able to share some of that information, as well as things in your area. Just to kind of go back to a company that I'm currently working with, they are working on improving veterans benefits through the VA. So being able to post, we have reduced the time to have your application from several months down to a couple of days. That's really going to stand out to people. And, you know, we're looking to get it even better. We would love to have you join us. And then you can link to your job page, things like that. Interesting articles are always a good way to go. I love to be really an in-depth part of the communities that I'm recruiting for. So being able to read articles that are coming up about the language, about things that are going on in the space, and sharing that information really kind of embeds you in the community and says, like, this is someone that not only if I follow them, am I going to see their jobs that are available, I'm going to see all of this other information, I'm going to get some advice. Like, it's a very worthwhile follow. And again, like I mentioned, giving career advice is a great way to get started. The first day that I was in there, I literally just typed in job search and started answering people's questions. And I always start with like recruiter here so that they know where I'm coming from and what my background is. And they get that information and are able to help and kind of just provide some information to people about the different options that they have available as part of their job search. A lot of people now are getting into the job market that maybe weren't prepared to. There's a lot of layoffs. There's a lot going on. People are kind of thrown into, oh gosh, I've been at this company for 10 years and now I have to update my resume and I haven't done an interview and how do I talk to a recruiter and all of those things that can be really difficult and scary. And you can kind of allay those fears and get people to a place where they feel good about their job process. And that's a huge part of what we do as recruiters anyways, right? Is really taking that opportunity to make it a little bit easier for people to find the next place that they're going to love and that they're going to fit in really well. Like I mentioned, you can boost posts. Unlike Twitter, which has a 250 question mark limit, you have a 500 character limit for your posts, so still a microblogging platform. And posts with photos do very well. So if you are going to post a job opening, consider making one of those banners for the job opening. Consider sharing a picture of your office. One company that I work with has an Instagram that is only for dogs from the company, which is really great. So any way that you can kind of get in there and just make it a little more interesting so that it stands out from all of the text. There's this thing that you can do called alt text. And one of the big communities on Mastodon are people with visual impairments. So being able to add an alt text means if they can't see the picture or anyone who's using a screen reader to read through the conversation will be able to see right on there, hey, this is a picture of, you know, our office and there's 3 people and this is what they're doing. It's pretty simple. People are much more likely to boost you and follow your posts if you do that as well. Code of conduct. Every instance or every community has its own rules and norms. You'll agree to them when you sign up. So it's not anything scary or anything like that. You'll want to check and make sure that the instance that you're on is okay with having recruiters on it. Most of them are, and I use mastodon.social, which is one of the bigger instances and one that I really recommend that recruiters jump onto. Like I mentioned, don't only just blast all of your jobs back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Be a part of the conversation as well. 250 character limit in the free version and up to 4,000 with paid. 4,000 would be a really, really long tweet. Okay, so 500 is usually enough. And then you can tack extra ones on underneath if you need to. And then you can also just become a member of the community and be a part of the conversation, what's happening. Really enjoy being around the kinds of people that you're recruiting for. And I learn so much by just reading what frustrates software engineers, what frustrates people that are in the space, what do they love about interviewing, what don't they love about interviewing. You have a lot of opportunity to improve your process and just continue to iterate. And you can straight up ask questions to the community as well. One of the things that I love to do is to do job research and ask people, tell me about the best recruiting experience you ever had. Tell me about the worst recruiting experience you've ever had. Take all of that information and constantly iterate and improve your process so that you are having the best of anybody's interview that's out there. Ways to give back, like sharing tips, giving advice, boosting posts. Cool. If anybody's excited, I will give you the brief rundown on how you can get started, very practical information. So you want to go to joinmastodon.org. That's where you're going to be able to jump in and get started. That's where you get your login. There's an app that you can download as well, or you can use it in the web browser. It's kind of whatever works best for you. Like I said, I recommend mastodon.social. It's really great. It's bigger. They're comfortable with having recruiters there, and you have the ability to see a lot more people than you might on a smaller instance. You're going to want to fill out your profile. Just like LinkedIn, they have that stat that they say all the time that people are like 92% more likely to respond to you if you have a profile picture. If you're not the little, this one would be a little Mastodon that's just sitting there by himself. If you add a picture of your face or a picture of your cat or something so that people know that this is a real person and not a bot account is a good way to go. And then, just like I mentioned earlier, you're going to make your own introduction post, and I will link to mine as kind of an example of what you could do with that. I hashtagged things like recruiter, job search, all of those things in my introduction post. So when people are searching through and they're looking for people to follow, I'm going to come up on all of those lists. It's also great to go ahead and pin that to your profile. Super easy to do. You're just going to click to the right where the 3 dots are and click pin. It'll keep it up at the top of your profile. People really like to go in, see that you made an interesting post or a comment, and then find out a little bit more about you. And that's the best way to do that. And most importantly, have fun. Like, recruiting is fun, sourcing is fun, finding people is a blast. This is something that I hope we all really love to do. And being able to have that opportunity to interact with the people that we're trying to hire on a little bit more personal level is always a great thing. Here's my sample post. Basically, I said I'm a technical recruiter. I focus on helping smaller startups. Here's some of the companies that I've worked with. As I mentioned, I do a lot of research projects and things and love data. And then just kind of shared some hashtags and things so that people know if they go to click on my thing, or if I'm giving them advice, that I actually know what I'm talking about, right? It's not just like, oh, this random person said that it's totally fine for my resume to be 3 pages, and just where is that information coming from? If you're interested and it sounds like something that you want to get into, I really recommend this book. It's called Mastodon for Dummies. It's a super thin and easy read. If you've had the For Dummies books before, they're really great and easy to go through. And it really just gives you all of the information, as well as some really interesting information about the tech, the Fediverse, all of those good things. So you have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about it and really feel comfortable on the platform. But everything that we've talked about today should be enough to kind of get you started and make sure that you are getting all of the information that you need to just sort of start jumping in. Great, Tim. All right, thank you all so much for jumping in today. Feel free to add me. Here's all of my social media and ways that you can get in with me. And I think Adrian's going to come back on and see if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer or do some examples, whatever you all need, I'm here for you. Hello again.
Awesome, we're here. Jenna. Funny things, at the beginning when I had to introduce you, all of a sudden I had a blackout. I was like, wait, Yelena, because I spoke to Yelena, so I said, oh, welcome, Yelena. I was like, no, that's not right, but like, what is it again?
I was like, that's cool, I have a new nickname. It's all good.
New nickname. So much knowledge, but also very concrete, very actionable, fascinating. When you mentioned that you were going to do your talk about this, I was like, wait, what is this platform? I'd never even heard of it. And I love it how they're constantly springing up new sources where we can find hard sought after candidates. So my question to you would be, in all honesty, we always have like a love-hate relationship with other platforms than LinkedIn. Because on the one hand, LinkedIn is annoying, right? Like, that's where everyone is. And you get drawn to it, and a lot of complications with LinkedIn that don't allow any outside tooling, and et cetera, right? But at the same time, it is the easiest platform to find the people that you're actually looking for because of their Boolean search operators, right? Like, and actually they figured out that their business model is on the recruiter side of things. Mm-hmm. So going off like to platforms like Twitter or Facebook or any other platforms that not tailor to recruiters, what we often see is like, okay, great, but you need to go through so many like false positives before you actually find the candidate that is relevant, which is hard in a market where you're squeezed for time and where you like need to find the right candidates. So how do you feel that this platform could fit in or be different, and like how much time did you spend there versus other platforms that you source on?
Yeah, I spend maybe 45 minutes or an hour a day just responding to all of the messages that people have sent me, taking time to read through posts and articles, and really just kind of making it a part of my larger sourcing strategy. But you could do it in, as little as 15 minutes or half an hour. You could spend more time on it. Obviously, when you first get started, it's going to take you a little while to like waddle through it and figure out what's going on. But once you have all of your searches and things ready to go, you can follow all of the hashtags for hiring. And then you'll have a timeline that is specifically all of those things. So you'll just see people who are looking for jobs. You'll just see people who are talking about Rust. And you can go through and get very specific about what's available to you. Because it is an open source platform, there's a lot of opportunity to build tools as well. You could maybe have some of your developers help you, where you can build anything that you need and all of the code is available. So like you mentioned, LinkedIn is very locked down, no third-party tools, no anything like that. Absolutely not only encouraged, but celebrated on Mastodon.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Ooh. I hope that word doesn't get out too quickly for people jumping on it and like scraping all the data, and before you know it, like everything is running by itself. In terms of the kind of geography, do you see that it's a global audience? Do you see, because it really originated in Germany, that it's mainly European focus or a bit of a mix? What's your experience there?
There's a ton of US-based folks, and there's a ton of people from pretty much all over the world. So wherever you're looking, there's probably going to be some people that are going to be from your area. And if you look through people's introduction posts, or if you search their hashtags, a lot of times they will hashtag where they are in their job search posts. So they make it a little bit easier for you to find them. And you can search multiple hashtags. So you could do job search and India, and then come up with people who are looking for jobs in that area, or people who are looking for remote only opportunities.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Do you, when you find someone that could be relevant for you, do you then do a cross-reference at LinkedIn, for example?
Yes. And a lot of people will actually post to their other social media on their profile, or they'll post to their LinkedIn, especially if they're looking for a job. So you can go over, get all the information, and then come back to this little bit more private, personal survey and get people the information there, where you're going to stand out from all of the people that are in mailing them.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting. Have you done it the other way around? Have you done like that? You found a candidate on LinkedIn and, for example, checked it on Mastodon?
I haven't yet. There's not a ton of people that are posting about their Mastodon instances. I think they want to keep it like a little bit secret, so I guess nobody tell.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that you can go from Mastodon to LinkedIn, and then as it continues to grow and people are more comfortable sort of sharing their profiles and their information, I imagine you'll be able to go the other way as well.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. And if you would say, are you still using Twitter as a potential platform, or have you moved completely away from Twitter and now this is your main focus as the kind of like go-to platform besides LinkedIn?
So I use Twitter primarily to interact with other recruiters. Recruiter Twitter is still pretty strong, but they actually just said that in order to end up on the For You timeline after April 15th, you have to be a paid Twitter account. So you won't even show up, your post won't even show up anymore if you don't pay to be on Twitter. They're making it kind of like a pay to play thing. So I think you're going to see more and more people kind of moving over. Like I mentioned, it went from 6 million to 10 million, and we're seeing it still grow. So I'm moving over more and more, and I'm trying to encourage more recruiters to get onto the platform so that all of the people that I want to hang out with are there, and I don't have to go to Twitter anymore.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Wow. Let's see if Elon wants to buy these guys now. But wait, it's decentralized. I don't think he can, right?
No, you can find people. It's really easy to search for folks. And I actually, one of the slides has mine on there. So add me and I'll be your first friend.
Awesome. How did you get started with the platform?
Yeah, I follow a bunch of software engineers on Twitter and just kind of am interested in what they're doing and what they're talking about. And they kept saying Mastodon. And I'm like, giant elephant. Okay, cool. What's that?
Yeah.
And then eventually it kind of just popped up, and I'm like, enough people are talking about this that I have got to figure out what's going on. And got there and found out that there was this huge job search community, like built in and ready to go. And it's just been a really great way to feel like you're a part of people's job hunt.
Amazing, amazing, and especially being there at the very kind of like start when maybe things really blow up, is of course exciting. And they're creating your own niche to the extent versus the very crowded LinkedIn marketplace, right?
Yeah, I actually got recruiter at as my handle. So I was like, I'm the first one here.
Yeah,
I
you
gotcha.
got it. You got it. You got it. So, have you actually found someone that you were able to hire? Have you actually have a successful hire through Mastodon?
I have a couple of people that are in interview processes right now based on Mastodon.
Awesome. 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 Because that's sometimes, right? Like we've had talks about, oh, this is how you scrape TikTok. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, kind of cool. Or Instagram. It's like, and did you make any hires? Like, no, but like, this is how you can do it.
No, but it was
right?
really cool.
Yeah, like that's often why like some of these like super fancy, like cool kind of tricks, but like let's be real. Like, can we actually use this in our day-to-day activities? And what you're just sharing is like it's definitely not your core maybe platform to like go, but you will be able to find candidates that you'll be able to interact with that could be relevant for your jobs, and you actually have people in the process, which
Yes.
is amazing. Which is amazing.
And it's a nice little brain break too. After you see the LinkedIn blue for hours and hours and hours, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to switch over and do something a little bit different and use a different part of my brain for a minute.
Jenna, other question, kind of like switching gears here a little bit. How do you plan to structure your days, especially when you have to do quite a lot of sourcing, and maybe that you have to do quite a lot of sourcing on? Let's take two examples. Maybe an evergreen role, senior software developer, different like stack, like it's not like high end sourcing, but like just more like almost like a volume game, and maybe like one very like specialist role that I think that you've worked on at Netflix, for example.
Sure. So for an evergreen role, I'm going to have all of my things set up that I follow all the time. I want to see people who are talking about working at scale. I want to see people who are talking about the industry and the space that I'm in. And I can just log in and I already have that timeline built, and I can go in and see who's talking about this today, who talked about it this week. So I'll spend a little bit of my time going through that.
Jenna, sorry, are you talking about Mastodon right now, or are you talking in general?
In general. Yeah. So you can also, you have a timeline of people that you follow on Twitter or anything.
Yeah.
And try to keep it as...
What do you mean with timeline? What do you mean with timeline there?
Yeah, so you can actually do where you follow a bunch of hashtags or you follow a bunch of people, and that will create a list for you that is called your timeline. And you'll be able to go in and see their posts specifically. Yeah. And you can create multiple ones. So if I have 3 different roles that I'm working on, I might have 3 different timelines that I'm following of specifically the people for those roles. People will also tweet about your company if you're at a little bit bigger company, or they'll post about your company, or they'll ask questions about it. So I always follow the company that I'm working with as well. And that can be a really good way to start to have those conversations if people are asking questions, or they, have information, or they want to know what is it like to work there. And I might even be able to get some of my engineers to jump on if they've got accounts and talk a little bit, do like a little ask me anything about what they're on. So I would do that for kind of a more general role. I might also save people that aren't looking right now, but that could be exciting for the future. Or like I mentioned, those thought leaders, the people that are always in that space, I'm going to go through and find the people that follow them, because those people might be looking. Whereas for a more specialized role, I'm really going to get into kind of those specific hashtags and specific keywords. Rust. Sometimes it's called Rust Lang because, Rust is like also the thing that happens to your car if it sits in the garage for too long. So you want to make sure that you have all of the right context. Like you said, you don't want to have to sort through too much noise to get to what you want. And then I'll also see if there are like articles about that, and really go through and see who's commenting on those articles. Are there subreddits that people are talking about that technology in? And who are the people who are constantly being a part of the conversation, because those are the people that are most excited. And even if they're not looking for a job, especially for those hyper-specific roles, if you get a good message and you say, hey, this is why I'm contacting you. Good people know good people. Do you know anyone who has sort of a similar skill set who might be looking? And as long as you do it sort of personalized and that it doesn't feel like, a message that you've blasted to 100 people, people will generally respond and say, hey, yeah, I actually know 2 or 3 people, in my field that are looking. Maybe you should talk to them. Let me make an introduction for you. And it works really well.
I love that. Good people know good people. That is so true. And that's how you ended up on our webinar series, Jenna.
Exactly. See, it works.
Jenna, we're getting close to the hour. I think we've answered all of the questions. Any last dying minute thoughts that you would like to give to our audience?
I would say just be open to new experiences and new ways to recruit, and spend your time where software engineers spend their time, especially if those are the kind of roles that you're hiring for, because that's where you're going to find them. I know that I often have people say, oh, I haven't checked my LinkedIn in mail in 9 months. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'm just going to be in the batch. But if I can get to where they're having a conversation, or the same day that they post that they're looking for a job, I can answer that post the same day, you're really going to stand out. And you're going to look like the recruiter who took that little extra step to be a part of the community, as opposed to just like typing in LinkedIn and blasting out messages.
So good. So good. Jenna, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Absolutely loved it. And hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Right, guys, we're close to the hour. Thank you so much for watching our 9th webinar series. Next week will be our last webinar series, but as they say, save the best for last, because next week we have Alla Pavlova, who's going to be sharing more about research and sourcing and techniques and tools. If you don't know Alla yet, honestly, this is one that you really want to watch. Her first webinar series that she did with us had over 3,000 views on YouTube. It really blew up because there was so much wisdom and content in there. And Alla is just an absolutely amazing human being. So definitely dial in next week to hear what Alla has to share with us. If you don't follow us yet, follow us on LinkedIn and follow us on YouTube, and subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date on our latest information and news and of any upcoming events that we're having. Wherever you are, I wish you a great rest of your day, a great rest of your evening, or a very good night. Thank you so much, and see you next week.